Hello and welcome to another video on the JJ Think Tank. Today I want to carry on my discussion about conspiracy theories, about conspirology, because I will be analysing the worldview of David Icke. So David Icke is probably the most famous conspiracy theorist currently in the world, and the most prominent one to have appeared in the last 30 years or so. David Icke has revealed many aspects of reality that previously perhaps we didn't notice. By reality, I mean the workings of the elite, how they operate, how they create events that bring chaos and further control over the human population. Not only this, he also goes in depth about reality itself. So he presents his own ontological views about reality, his own metaphysical views, and broadly speaking, we can classify these views as falling into New Age philosophy. And New Age philosophy is Gnostic in nature. So Gnostics view this material world of ours as inherently evil, as being a bad copy of the original reality that is partly inaccessible to us, or partially, I should say, partially inaccessible to us. And because of this, because of the fallen nature of this world, they view God himself as an evil force. And in their worldview, God is a Demiurge. And this word brings up evil connotations, right? This word sounds evil, right? So, what is the problem ultimately with the worldview of David Icke and other Gnostics like him? The problem is this, and it boils down to one reason, really, and it is that because this reality of ours that we see, that we touch, that we feel, because it's inherently evil according to the Gnostics, we should reject it. And because we reject it, we ultimately fall into despair, yes? And through this despair, we reject life. We reject life, we reject the good aspects of this world. We reject the things worth living for. And we explain this and excuse ourselves for this mentality and this approach to life by calling life itself an illusion. This is the absurdity of the Gnostic worldview. Many Gnostics will say, no, this is not true, this is not true. But if you really think about the worldview and you take it to its logical conclusion, this is ultimately what happens to a person. Yes. If the world is evil, if the world is an illusion, and life itself is a prison, then the person rejects life and calls it an illusion. But before coming to this final view of Gnosticism that I have and that other critics have, there are many other steps and aspects of Gnosticism and the worldview that David Icke has, which we should analyse to reveal more blatant inconsistencies and blatant misuse of philosophy. And I want to present this to you via my article that I wrote. So before I go into this further criticism of Gnosticism, I want to show you some of the positive aspects of David's work that he has presented, and which we should not reject at the same time. Yes. So David Icke is a conspiracy theorist who is known for laying out the plans of the global elite and exposing their nefarious agenda. So when it comes to the interpretation of certain events, their detrimental impact, it's harder not to agree with David, yes? After you do your own analysis and you compare the information that he presents and what you have gathered, there is an overlap. And the recent wars, the pandemic, climate change agenda, digital ID, cashless society, all of these processes and events that are taking place are certainly in some way coordinated by the global elite who act in concert with each other. We can also add the agenda of 4G, 5G, 6G, stabbies, yes, stabbies, so many other events, aspects of reality that point towards a coordinated plan by the elite to dumb down the masses, to control them and to enslave them. For example, we can also add pesticides. Yes, all of these pesticides that are found in our food, toxic water, toxic environment in general. they're all linked in many ways once you dig deeper. But now the problem with the solution of David's Icke's solution of David's is this, that even though he's able to connect the dots, when it comes to solutions and his worldview, at the most basic level, it's riddled with a number of inconsistencies, and it's incoherent. And because he offers no solutions and no way of fighting and adapting to this new reality of ours, his worldview is a problem for us. So the main substantial criticism of people towards David Icke, and what I also find very strange and suspect, is his rejection of Jesus Christ, yes, and his divinity. And I guess this is in line with Gnostics and Gnostic thinking, because they also have heretical views on Jesus Christ. They don't see Jesus as the saviour of humanity. They don't ultimately believe in his resurrection, and that through his life and death he redeemed humanity and redeemed the world. Because of this, the next step is that the Creator himself is fundamentally bad and evil. So if the whole world is evil as well, the material world, is it worth even saving? Should a person even act to try and save it, to try and make a change? Can you see roughly where I'm getting at now? Because it's all right pointing out all the problems and the issues with the world, but there needs to be a worldview in place in a person's mind that allows him to act, yes, take action. But David does not offer this. He does not offer this. So let me reiterate this. When we break down this first view of Icke's, then, and contrast it with the idea that we need to fight back, we are led to the question of why we should fight back, if we suppose, as Icke does, that this material world is evil and not worth fighting for. We can therefore see that action and idea cannot come together in a logical sequence. And when you observe David Icke, when you listen to him, you notice elements of pride popping up, and holier than thou syndrome, and kind of an arrogance of the mind. He rejects anyone who has a different view, who acts differently, and he hides behind this supposed inner gnosis that he experienced, and he, what's the word I'm looking for? Not emphasizes, but he excuses himself, yes? He excuses himself by kind of hiding behind this sophist-like Gnostic worldview of, the religion is a matrix, everything is a matrix. You aren't in the know. you are part of the matrix. You cannot differentiate between the different players, and because of this you can't see the ultimate illusion of reality. Yes, and these really are marks of a fraud and a charlatan. I remember David having an interview with Jesse Lee Peterson, and when Jesse Lee Peterson started to question some of Icke's views, the sources of his worldview, where he gets his information from, he really started to become really irritated, and he went on the back foot, and he showed a lot of anger and frustration. And I do remember that event very clearly. It made me suspicious, yes? What else does David say that is suspect? And the first thing that comes to mind is simulation theory. So for me, simulation theory is just another form of speculation that cannot be backed up by evidence. Of course, there are arguments for simulation theory by Nick Bostrom. I haven't read his books about simulation theory at all. I've only had a cursory view of what he has written and said. But in my eyes, according to my intuition, simulation theory is ultimately deterministic in nature and doesn't allow a space for freedom for the human individual. Besides, when we start thinking about simulation theory, we start to think, okay, if this world is a simulation, it would entail the source of the simulation to be of an even greater complexity. Yes, and then we are back to square one, really, aren't we? It becomes circular, this argument, because what is the starting point of the simulation? Who created the simulation? Here, I guess we can think of philosophy, this application of philosophy, as being just a play of language. Yes, so simulation theory is just another way of describing the act of creation and God himself, or itself. Yes, depending on whether you want to give a pronoun to God. Yes, but it's all vague in my view. It's all vague, and it's another symptom of David Icke's. He tries to appear profound and in the know. He pretends to have this inner knowledge that other people do not have, and because of this, he sets himself above other people. This is basically what he's doing, Mr. Icke. You are a fraud and you have been exposed. So you have been exposed, and many others are exposing you now for the fraud that you are, the intellectual fraud. The problem with David Icke also, many times he appeals to authority, yes? He said so, this scientist said so, and I've been saying this for 30 years, so therefore my argument is correct. This is not logical. It's not a logical argument, sir. You're just appealing to authority, and it's not good enough. There needs to be more rigor, more clarity in what you are saying, and you need to provide evidence. You need to provide evidence of what you are saying. So before I finish, let's go a bit deeper into simulation theory. So simulation theory is a useless and incoherent theory, and it ultimately tries to deny the complexity, mystery, and wonder of this world by equating the world to the language of computation. Yes, and these people are caught up in the modern age, in the progress of the modern age, and through their arrogance, believe that they can explain reality to a T. Yes, but this is not possible. It's not possible. So ultimately, David Icke, he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. His philosophy is one that is against life itself. He worships his own mind only because he took some ayahuasca many years ago. His pride overweening and his excessive moralizing suspicious to all. Beware of his thought. This is, you may think this is an ad hominem, but it's important. I think this is an important point because David himself says in many interviews that he took some drugs, yes, some trip. He had some spiritual experiences, some downloads, whatever. His mind blew off. He says something like this. But all this information, what is the source? Maybe it's from a demon. Yeah? Since he rejects Christ, we could argue it's probably from a demon. Is it a demon sending him some false information and creating this worldview that is inherently anti-life. So I want to end my video with this quote. I found this online. While I was writing this article, it popped up because I was looking for a quote that would kind of summarize in a nice way the problem with New Age Gnosticism, yes? And it's a brilliant quote. So here it goes. There is no way to tell if we are the pioneers of a visionary new age, whisking humanity into the high vibrations of an interdimensional love party, or postmodern Don Quixote, yes, attacking techno-industrial windmills with our flimsy rolled-up yoga mats. Rebels without a cause, yes? They are rebels to be rebellious. Makes you think, this quote, doesn't it? Gnosticism is a New Age theory, all this stuff. These people are trying to be rebellious, but ultimately their own worldview lets them down. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some important information. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.